Focusing on the next play is about bouncing back and responding, especially when something didn't go the way that you had hoped or planned. What's going on? You're listening to episode 51 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show exists to encourage you to carve out time to build something for yourself. And I want to tackle the hard topics and help you take your creative game to the next level. This week, we're going to do the unthinkable and link sports, or sports ball, as my non-sports enthusiastic friends call it, especially at work. But we're linking sports to creativity. So bear with me, as I promise this will all make sense. When something doesn't go your way in sports, there's a saying called focus on the next play. And I feel this concept parallels with the creative journey we're all on. You can find the show notes to this episode at perspective-collective.com/51. And if you think someone out there could find this episode or any episode helpful, please just give it a quick share on social media, as that massively helps the show grow. Let's get into the show. Back in the day, I played wide receiver for my high school football team. Getting real nostalgic on this. On a cold Friday night under the lights, we hosted a team called Cedar Rapids Kennedy Cougars. It was a big game for me, as it was one of my final senior home games, and I was trying to get recruited to play college ball. Everything started off great for us, as I caught a few catches on the opening drive, and we ended up eventually scoring on that first possession. However, after that, things started to fall apart. On the next drive we had the ball, I dropped an easy pass, and I started getting in my own head. A few plays later, I dropped the ball again, and I'm telling you, this was completely out of character for me. I don't drop the ball often. Matter of fact, I maybe had 2 drops before that the entire season. Finally, I had a complete breakdown. So Kennedy punted the ball on 4th down, and as I was back deep to receive the kick, I remember watching the ball hang in the air forever as it soared toward me. It felt like an eternity, and that gave me plenty of time to psych myself out that I could drop it, which is exactly what I did. So I ended up muffing this punt, which bounced on the ground a little bit, and Kennedy recovered it, scooped and scored, and took it for a touchdown. And I remember just laying on the ground, absolutely embarrassed. It was a packed stadium. My parents were there, my brothers, my sister, my family. And, I just kept fucking up. And there I was, just laying there in the ground, wishing I could just sink into the grass and disappear forever. My confidence was destroyed, and my self-destructing behavior was contagious, as our team got routed something like 50 points to 7 points. While most people don't remember that night as vividly as I do, that was the moment I realized I could get in my own head and let my mind run rampant. Despite this game, I still got recruited to play football at a D3 school called Warper College in Waverly, Iowa. And throughout my 4 years there, something our coaches drilled into our heads was focus on the next play. I believe if I had this mindset back on that Friday night under the lights, maybe I would have been able to bounce back after that first drop pass instead of self-destructing and infecting the team. So this is when creativity and sports collide. Focus on the next play is something you'll hear the greatest athletes of all time refer to. Whether it's Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, or Peyton Manning, it holds true for all of them. And you personally don't have to be a Hall of Fame athlete or an athlete in general to adopt this mentality. It's so simple, and I've slowly began to realize how this mantra can impact my life and yours as a creative. I've been blessed to experience both worlds of being a hybrid jock and a creative. Growing up, I was always in sports, but I was always the kid who kept the sketchbook. In college, I had the opportunity to get the best of both worlds. It was great. At the same time, I got to meet a lot of people. I got to be part of a team and something bigger than myself. And then I got to be in that other completely different imagination-driven world of being a creative and being in art classes. A lot of people didn't think I fit in until I started showing my work. And Between creativity and sports, there's a lot of overlap when it comes to showing up and becoming the best version of yourself on the field or in your work. So in football, focusing on the next play meant letting go of what I probably screwed up in the past and aiming my attention at the next opportunity. For example, if I dropped a pass, missed a block, or screwed up some type of assignment, I have the ability to respond and make up for it the next play. So as an artist, a designer, whatever you do in your creative world and your focusing on the next play for you means learning from and improving on the last piece or project that I kicked out or that you kicked out. So let's say if I posted a drawing and it flopped on Instagram like I've had plenty in the past do, or maybe the client didn't vibe to any of my first mocks that I kicked out. I have the ability to get back to the drawing board and work on improving on the last round of work I kicked out or the last drawing that I posted. If you're like me, you often get caught up in the what ifs in life. Like, what if I wouldn't have dropped that first pass against Kennedy, back in high school? Would I have avoided self-destructing and maybe I would have helped my team make it a closer game? I can't tell you how many times I replayed it in my head. More recently, in this creative career I'm on, it's been like, what if I would have posted at a different time? Or what if I would have used a different lettering style, or maybe just a different idea altogether, or maybe set up my mocks just a little bit differently, or sold it just a little bit differently? Would it have gotten more engagement, or would the client have loved the first mock from the get-go, and I could have just been off to the races? I'm super slowly learning that dwelling on the what-ifs in your past will get you nowhere. To me, and maybe you too, I'm hoping it's just not me, but when I dwell in the past, it seems to only depress me and discourage me from focusing on the next play, the next drawing, or whatever it is in life. I know you're like me on this one, though. Your past is littered with failures. And just recording this episode, I can't tell you how many times I've edited out just mistakes and repeating myself. The only way I know how to erase the past or erase those mistakes is by getting your hands on the neuralizer from Men in Black. Do you know what I'm talking about? That little proby flashlight thing that, you put on your sunglasses and he flashes it and erases all your memory. Like, how dope would that be to have that? But however, we live in the real world, and unfortunately, cool little gadgets like that just don't exist. In the meantime, do what Tara Victoria suggested in episode 50, just this last episode. And she suggests fucking up and fucking up often. And I agree with her. Adopting this next play mentality as a creative encourages you to fuck up and fail as much as you can. It's about constantly kicking out work with the goal of experimenting, evolving, and growing throughout the process. It's not about getting caught up in the what ifs and chasing perfection, because let's just be real, you and I will never achieve perfection. No matter how hard we try. I'm my own worst art critic. I'm sure you are too, but it's impossible, and it seems to just hold us back from getting to where we need to be as a creative or a human being and becoming the best versions of ourselves. Focusing on the next play is about bouncing back and responding, especially when something didn't go the way that you had hoped or planned. I'm a big believer that sticking with it, even when it isn't convenient, will always present another opportunity, maybe disguised in some different package, who knows? And you'll still get another opportunity even if you muffed the punt the first time around. So stick with it, respond, and I want to encourage you to adopt this sports ball mentality and focus on the next play. It's going to be really hard to catch your big break when you keep dwelling on the what ifs and on the past mistakes. Okay, so that was my attempt of combining sports and creating a bridge to how it parallels with being a creative. I try to adapt this mindset every day, especially within my work as of late, because there's times with the Instagram algorithm where it maybe feels like the response you get makes you feel like you're not doing as well, you're not putting out the best work. For me, I feel like I've been stepping up my quality more and more each month, but maybe the numbers and the engagement don't reflect that. And it's not about the engagement at the end of the day. It's about staying true to yourself, kicking out work that means something with you. And who knows, maybe you're making an impact on one person at a time. Like, that's truly what matters. And the fact of if something flops and you expected it to like take off, well, focus on the next play, focus on the next drawing, the next opportunity. Because that next opportunity will come if you stay driven, you stay hungry, and you keep putting out your best work, and you keep over-serving your clients, even if they can be a pain in the ass sometime. But let's face it, you could be a pain in the ass too. So focus on the next play, and have an open mind when someone that's a creative talks about sports next time. All right. Switching things up, do you want to get a shout out in each episode, or get critiques on your work, or get some type of access to small punchy episodes or discounts in my shop? If so, these are just a few of the rewards you can get by supporting the show over at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. With as little as $1, $3, $5 per episode, you can help the show grow and evolve, as this allows me to keep up with recurring costs like audio hosting, web hosting, recording programs, and equipment. Every little pledge helps me devote my time outside the day job to bringing you the best show possible. And I just want to stop and say a huge thank you to the more recent pledges that just joined. You are making a massive difference. I can't thank you enough. Again, you can invest in the growth of this show by visiting patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. Another way to support the show is by leaving a quick ratings and review over on iTunes. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug, like this week's rating and review. And this one is by Ryan, forced to use a nickname. That's interesting. And he titles this one, My Creative Motivation Podcast. Ryan states, this was a long one, bear with me. If you need something to help push yourself creatively or just listen to on the ride home, this is the one. I recently discovered this podcast and listened to every episode because I got completely obsessed. In my opinion, I think Scotty is producing one of the honest and insightful podcasts out there. He speaks from a place of vulnerability that makes it so much more powerful than an over-curated podcast. I have learned so much from this bite-sized episodes and from the awesome guests he has on. I fully recommend giving this a listen, as Scotty will help you get out of a funk, start that project you've been waiting for, or just motivate you to do more. Dude, Ryan, that was by far one of the longest ones, but definitely one of the ones that hit home most with me. So thank you so much, dude. I definitely wanted to make sure to give that a read and give you just a public thank you. I'm extremely appreciative, man. And as always, I need to give a huge thank you to Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the dope theme music you hear on this. And follow this dude on Instagram. He's always showing behind the scenes clips of his music. So check him out at Blookah, Blookah. Follow this dude on Instagram. Link up with him. Tell him how awesome the music is that he keeps kicking out for the show. Like, this dude is a beast. And as you go into the rest of your week, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.